small supply of index cards. So as Dr. Griffin goes through his presentation, if you have a question, let somebody know and Jerry will bring you a card to fill out. Okay, and today we're really fortunate to have as our moderator Dede Schaffner. I think everyone knows that she served on the school board for 16 years, and she's on so many boards that I'm not going to go through them all. She's also on our education committee for the League of Women Voters, and we are so fortunate to have her as a member and a friend. So without further ado, Dede.
Thank you so much. So it's with pleasure that I introduce to you Walt Griffin, Dr. Walt Griffin. Dr. Griffin was appointed Superintendent of Seminole County Public Schools in 2012. Prior to serving as superintendent, he served as a math teacher, a middle school principal, and I think anybody that teaches or is a principal in middle school is probably a star in heaven for you. The high school principal, executive director of the Seminole County High Schools as well. He's a two-time Florida Department of Education turnaround principal, the 2003 Florida Principal of the Year, and in 2014 was named a U.S. Future Ready Superintendent. Since taking over as superintendent, Seminole County is ranked #1 in the state in advanced STEM education, career and vocational education. That has quadrupled, and Seminole County has maintained an A+ rating from the Department of Education. Walt and his wife Lori have been married over 30 years and reside in Oviedo. They have 2 married children, 1 granddaughter, and 2 grandsons. I introduce to you the Superintendent of the Seminole County Schools, Dr. Griffin.
Thank you, Dede. Good afternoon, everybody. I understand the way you are sitting. If your food comes out, please eat. I'm not insulted if you're not looking at me. I know you're listening. You know? I do these lunch things all the time. I'm used to it. I want to just tell you a little bit about Seminole County Public Schools, and you submitted a long list of questions, so I want to focus on that to make sure I answer the things that you want. We are the 60th largest district in the nation. I don't know if everybody knows that, but we continue to grow. We added an average of about 400 to 600 students a year, and you can tell by the growth in Seminole County. Our board does an absolutely phenomenal job working with me of managing the growth, by adding classrooms where we need to, add buildings where we need to, and doing what we need to do to work on the programs that we need to work on. Near and dear to my heart, when I interviewed for this job in 2012, as Dede said, I've worked at schools a lot longer than the county office. I was always very proud because Seminole County Public Schools has always been a premier university preparatory district, and we continue to do that. I could flash up slides of every Ivy League, the great University of Florida, all the other great schools, and show you the things that our kids do. But what was missing was the piece where students had opportunities or pathways to pursue something other or in addition to traditional university and college preparatory. So the board has been unbelievably supportive these 8 years I've been superintendent, and we have created educational pathways in vocational, career, and technical education. It's near and dear to my heart. Let me just tell you a little bit about my family. I have 2 kids. My daughter, Lindsay, was the International Baccalaureate student. She would fret when she made a 99. I never ever had to worry about her doing her homework. When she was at UF, you know how they post the grades by social? If she wasn't top of the list at 300, she would rack her brain what she was worried about. She was just the academic kid from the day she was born. Well, 6 years later, her DNA opposite was born, my son. And I knew with him, I assumed he would be as easy. Wrong. I knew with him from the beginning, he was well behaved, he was polite, but he was going to go a different pathway. And I come from a blue-collar family. My dad was a blacksmith, retired. He passed away almost a year ago already. So I knew what it was like living in a blue-collar household. He provided them, and my parents, provided the love that we needed. And I saw my son going down a similar pathway, looking for things to do. So I knew as he entered high school, when the teacher sent him home with the Odyssey and all these things to read, that my wife, here I am, the principal of the high school, I would look at my wife and say, is there a movie version? Is there a footnote? Because it wasn't like my daughter at all. And we took him over to Seminole State toured all the vocational programs, and he wound up from Seminole High School going directly into the automotive tech program, and I watched him thrive for really the first time because he found his passion. His passion was not memorizing things. His passion was hands-on doing work. And I watched his entire class all get hired prior to graduation. And as a high school principal, a pretty experienced high school principal at that time, it really opened my eyes to other pathways. And I brought that story and that passion to my interview for superintendent, saying, you know, we're missing the boat with a lot of kids. We may be sending kids to college, but are they employable at the end of college? Are they finding their passions? Are they doing the things that they need to do? So since 2012, listen to these numbers. 2012, we gave out just about 400 students earned industry certifications. Last year, over 3,500 earned industry certifications. And that is a business standard recognized on a national level that when students graduate from high school, if they so desire, they can go directly into the workforce. Many students now go into a certification program for 1 or 2 years after high school. But I think the most important thing is that we're creating enough pathways that kids can figure out what they really are passionate about. At the end of the day, we all have to work a long time. Not too many of us were born to be philanthropists. And you have to find something that you love to do. And when I speak to students, I tell them, I pull into work every single day. It's over 30 years now. I love my job. And the day I stop loving it is the time for me to go on and do something else. And I hope that every student who leaves our school system at least is exposed to different areas and has the thought process to think about different fields. So I always start out with talking about it's not only university preparatory. We do that, and we do that really, really well. We will always keep that track. But we have a solid vocational, career, and technical pathway available for our students. And I can tell you, there was a time, you all remember, when in 2012, when I would talk about vocational to our parents, there were many people who thought vocational was for the students who they weren't as bright, or it's call a plumber to your house. Call somebody when your HVAC goes out. I stand there with the checkbook, fix the air, right? I don't do that for an art history major who comes to visit. You have to have, it's about work, okay? And I could go on and on about that, but absolutely vital. Another piece that's near and dear to our heart is citizenship. I spend as much time as I can talking to students, and I tell the story all the time of my great-grandparents coming from Italy through Ellis Island, coming to the United States, moving to the Bronx without that much, and working their tails off to be proud Americans, to learn the language, and be contributors to our great nation. And I think a lot of our students don't have enough citizenship background, civics, all of those pieces. And the board has been very, very supportive. The board has been very, very supportive. And it's not the kids' fault. Some of their parents don't have that background. So I don't want the greatest generation to go without our kids knowing those stories and know the reasons why we celebrate the freedoms that we have and why we're allowed to express ourselves every single day. So college, career, citizenship, that has been my driving force for at least 8 years, for a long time, to make sure that those things are on the radar. People ask us all the time, why do you have school on Veterans Day? The kids should be off on Veterans Day. What do kids do when they're off? Are they celebrating Veterans Day? No. We celebrate Veterans Day in our schools. Every school has a celebration, and let these kids understand that people who gave up their lives and people put everything they have to save our great country, to preserve the freedoms that they have and the work that they have. So I'm very, very passionate about college, about career, and about citizenship. We learned early on, when I received my doctorate in 2013, that means I wrote my dissertation my first year as superintendent, because I didn't know I was going to be superintendent. And I learned early on the research that I was doing. I was working on a high school program, but everything led me down the pathway to the younger you work with the kids, the better off you are. So we worked with the board supported it. We have a VPK, a voluntary pre-kindergarten program now at every single elementary school, and more than one section. And that means that by the time students go to kindergarten, they have been exposed to the things that they need. I can tell you, kindergarten today is a lot different than kindergarten when I was in kindergarten. I can remember, Walter, don't pull Janie's braids. Walter, don't eat the glue, the paste. I mean, we were learning social kind of skills. These kids in kindergarten now, they have word lists, they're learning math, so we really need this pre-K opportunity for our students. So we got that going, we were very, very proud of it. And March of, maybe it was 13 or 14, I forget what year my granddaughter was born, I was sitting in the hospital at Central Florida Regional, awaiting the birth of my first grandchild, my granddaughter. And sitting there, I saw a lot of young parents coming in and out, a lot of young grandparents, much like me, very young grandparents, watching them come in and out, but thinking, boy, they didn't know I was a superintendent. I said, how do we connect with these families? What can we do to help them? And I remember Cariana was born on a Friday, 4 o'clock on a Friday. I call up to the county office and tell cabinet we need to have a quick meeting. And they always love a call like that. And they thought I was coming to show pictures of the new baby. And I showed them one picture and I said, I have an idea. So what came out of that was us finding ways to reach out to the community through hospitals, through pediatricians, through the health department, to reach out to new parents and say, hey, we're not Big Brother watching you, but we have a lot of resources and a lot of knowledge that we can share with you. And we started a program called the Great Start Program. Jerry, you played a major role in Great Start. And I want to show you, I brought 2 Great Start bags. Hopefully somebody knows somebody with a baby or your new grandparents or parents. But our Great Start program, I just love all this stuff. But there are books here that kind of give a dual message, because the first one, Snuggle Bunny, is about holding, caring, talking, and looking at your child every day. Every group of parents I speak to, I tell them to put down the phones, get away from the screens, look at your kids, and talk to them. This is a reminder to do that. We have a resource directory for every family, medical, financial, housing, whatever you can think of. I didn't have any guides when my kids grew up. It's amazing how they survived. My favorite is what the district created. Everything is a big we. I have the idea, and a lot of good people do all this work. We have a little guide for parents the first 2 months, what to look for, what to work on, and in 2 to 4 months, and 4 to 6 months, and 6 to 8 months. But this is about developing literacy at an early age. We have kindergartners who arrive who can just about read or read. We have others who arrive when we hand them a book, they don't even know how to open it. So we have an obligation for literacy. And I could go on and on. There's all sorts of great books here and great things. My favorite is this. Because we want all of our kids to graduate, and every baby gets a bib. Seminole County Public Schools, this year will be the graduating class of 2037. So every baby gets a bib, because we want every family to think about the importance of graduation. And those of us that have raised kids, it goes so fast, right? I mean, you think they're babies, and all of a sudden you're graduating them, all of a sudden they're in college and working, and they have their own kids, and so on. So really passionate, the board and I, about the early childhood piece to make sure that we're giving people the information and the tools that they need. So that's a quick overview of philosophically the things that we're interested in. We're dealing a lot with growth. As I mentioned, there's growth in the area, and we are proceeding very cautiously with adding additional facilities and additional building. First of all, funding is very tight. Secondly, I don't know if you all know, but if I overbuild, we have to open our classrooms to non-Seminole County families. So we're very careful. I love all children, but I love Seminole County, and I want to make sure that our families have first access to our schools. So sometimes you'll hear, oh, the schools are just about at the limit of capacity. That's by design, and we would not overbuild or add until we really have to add that. All right, I'd like to go through. I could go on and on and on forever. I just love the district. I'm so proud of it. Dede, I know you all. I saw a list of questions come in. So I'll do my best to answer these. And board members, feel free to join into these questions. These are